Okay, hello everyone. Okay, so the next program in chapter 3 is magic dates. So the date June 10th, 1960 is special because when we write it in the following format, the month times the day equals a year. So 6/10/60. June 10th, 1960. 6 times 10 is equal to 60. All right, let me finish reading the question. All right, so write a program that asks the user to enter a month in numeric form, a day, and a two-digit year. The program should then determine whether the month times a day is equal to the year. If so, it should display a message saying the date is magic. Otherwise, it should display a message saying the date is not magic. So basically, this date is considered magic because the month, which is June, which is 6, times the day, which is 10th, is equal to the year, which is 1960. So 6 times 10 is equal to 60. So for example, if the user enters, let's say, February, I think they are using the American formats, that's why. That's why it's month first, day second, and year third. So if the user enters, let's say, February 5th, 1922, this date is not considered magic because the month times the day is not equal. 2 times 5 is not equal to 22. It's equal to 10. So 2 times 5 is equal to 10. So because of that, this date is not considered magic. The program is going to say this date is not magic. But if, for example, the user enters February 5th, 1910, which is 1910, then the program should say this date is magic because the month, which is February, times the day, which is 5, is equal to the year, which is 1910. Okay, so I'm going to undo this back to the original question, which is June 10th, 1960. All right, so write a program that asks the user to enter a month in numeric form, a day, and a two-digit year. And the program is basically going to figure out if the date is magic by checking to see if the month times a day is equal to the year. And if so, it's going to display the date is magic. If not, then it should display the date is not magic. Okay, so I'll just start it. All right, so I'm going to create the class, public class, and I'll call it magic date. And then I'll create the main method. Okay, string array call args. Okay. All right, so since we're going to be prompting for inputs, because over here it says write a program that asks the user to enter a month in numeric form. So since we're going to be asking the user to enter values, we can either use a scanner or we can use the J option pane. Now yesterday in the first program I used the scanner, so now I'm going to use, today I'm just going to switch it around a little bit and use the J option pane. And to use the J option pane, I'm sorry, to use the J option pane we need to import it. Just like the scanner class, we need to import it and give this program access to it, to that library. So to do that, I'm going to import javax.swing.j option pane, capital J, capital O, option, capital P, pane, and a semicolon. Okay, so write a program that asks the user to enter a month in numeric form. So first, we're going to ask the user to enter a month. With the J option pane, we don't have to create any object, unlike the scanner class, which we have to. But with the J option pane, we don't. So we just have access to the library. We can just use it. So to ask the user to enter the month in numeric form, we call J option pane's show input dialog method. and that's basically going to prompt or show a text box with a label saying please enter a month. So let me just do that. So JOption pane.show input dialog, and it basically takes the label that's going to be displayed on the window. So please enter a numeric month, or please enter a month in numeric form. Now, once we do this, when the user types in something, we need a place to store it. But anytime you use the JOptions pane show inputs dialog, whatever is going to be returned by this method is going to be in the form of a string. So even if the user enters a number, say if the user enters, let's say 6 for June, this method is going to return a string. It's going to convert that number to a string and return it. That's how it works. It doesn't have any special methods for converting the JOption pane I'm talking about. The JOption pane, that library that class doesn't have any methods for converting those strings into doubles or integers or any other type of data. So first we are going to receive that return value, receive whatever this is going to return into a string variable, and then we're going to convert what's stored in that string variable to a number. So because it's going to return a string, we need to create a string variable. So I'm going to do that string, and I'm going to call it user string output. It's just the user's information that was typed in there converted to a string, returned from the show input dialog method. Okay. So once the user enters, let's say, a numeric month, it's going to return it, and we're going to store it in user string output. Now remember, this is a string. So even though we have the month stored here, we can't really do any calculations on strings. You can't use strings to, you can't say add 1 to the word cat. We can't really do that. So we need to convert this user string output to a number, a real number that we can use for calculations. And to do that, we use one of Java's wrapper classes. In chapter 9, there are more programs that talk about that. But we use these methods. Okay, we use the methods in Java's wrapper classes, and I'll show you it's here. So basically, we want to convert this month value from a string to an integer. So to do that, it's going to be integer.parse int, and it receives whatever is going to be passed into an integer, and that's going to be user string output. But once it converts this user string output, once it passes this user string output to an integer, we need to store that number in its own variable. So to do that, I'm going to create another variable. I'm going to call it int month. I'm just going to use user month, and now we're going to store whatever has been converted to an integer in user month. I hope you follow it. Okay. All right. So now we have the user's month. We are going to do the same thing for the day. So I'm basically going to copy this, and I'm going to paste it down here. So I'm just going to do this. Let me just add a few comments so it helps some people. Okay, so ask for month, and then and convert to a string. Convert to a number, to an integer, to be proper. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing here, ask for math, convert. Okay, let me just copy this one instead. Ask for day. Please enter a day in numeric form. And then I'm going to create another. Let me just separate these. So this user string is always what's going to receive whatever the input dialog is going to send, and we're going to convert it into a number if we need it. So I'm going to create another variable for the day, user day, and we're going to store whatever the user typed into the day here. We're going to pass that into an integer also and store it in user day. And one last one, I'm going to do that for the year also. Ask for year. And it's going to ask, please enter a year in numeric form. It's going to store it in user string output, and we're going to convert whatever was stored in user string output to an integer and store it in user year, which we have to declare. And we're going to go ahead and store it here in user year. Okay, so now we have all three values. So now we can go ahead and use our if statement to check and make sure, or to check to see if that date, that string of date, basically a date, is magic or not. Alright, so we're going to use an if statement and say that if the month times the day is equal to the year, then display the date is magic. If that's not the case, then display the date is not magic. So if, I'm going to go ahead and create the structure. So if user month, because we already have the value stored in the variable. So if user month times user day is equal to, now we are using double equals as opposed to this, because if you do this, you are assigning a value to the variable instead of comparing. Now with this, we are comparing to see if the result of user month times user day is equal to, we are using double equals to say if this is exactly what's in the other side. So if user month times user day is exactly what's in user year, and I'm going to put parentheses, although it will probably work, but I like doing this just for organization. I'm going to put these around parentheses just to make them work a bit organized and to prevent any errors, just to be extra safe. Okay, so if user month times user day, if user month, which is if the user enters, let's say June, times the user day, if the user enters, let's say 10, is equals to the user year. If the user entered, let's say 60, then go ahead and display that the date is magic. But I'm going to use the G-option panes show message dialog to display the message. So I'm going to say, then if that's true, then G-option pane dot, G-option pane dot show message dialog. I'm sorry. G-option pane dot show message dialog. And this takes in two parameters. The first, it takes two arguments. I'm sorry. So the first is going to be now. Now because I'm not sure. Yeah, it's now because the reason why it's now because, well, this is we have to worry about this when we are working with programs that have multiple windows. But for now, this is the only window that's going to show on the screen. So we're going to use now. And what now is going to do is it's going to center that window in the screen on the screen. So I'll put now for there, just to center the window on the screen. Later on, if we're working with multiple windows, we will work with this. So the second argument is going to be the message that you want to show. So if this is the case, if this whole Boolean expression is the case, it's either true or false. If it's true, then display the date is magic. If not, then display the date is not magic. And the way to do that is the else clause. So else, I'm putting it right after the block, the if block that's going to conditionally execute. So the else, I'm going to go ahead and create it also, it's a block also, and indent it so that it matches the if statement. So else, which is if this is not true, then display the date is not magic. So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste it and say Egyptian pane.show message dialog. Now the date is not magic. I think we're done. One last thing, anytime you use the Goption pane, we have to call system.exit. I'm going to pass in a 0. Because anytime you start the Goption pane, an extra task is created, and it's called a thread. And if you don't system.exit it, it's going to keep running. So system.exit will terminate that thread. And the reason why I put in 0 is just later on when I want to later on I can receive this 0 and test on it and say if whatever I received was a 0, then that means that the program runs successfully. That means the program was able to get to this point. It's just a way I can check. I'm basically sending this 0, and I can receive whatever is being sent. And if I receive a 0, it's just an indication that the program runs successfully. Okay, so that means that the program got to this point, and I was able to exit with a value of 0. And if I, let's say, later on test on it and I receive a 0, it's just an indication that the program runs successfully. Okay, but yeah, this will terminate the thread and send a 0. And like I said, you can test on it later. Please don't get confused. Okay, so yeah, I think we're done. So let's just go ahead and compile it and see if it works. Okay, so I'm going to compile that and Roman numerals now. So I'm going to go to Programming Challenges, Chapter 3. I was supposed to create a folder for the Roman numerals. This is fine. I'll do that later. So I'm going to create a folder for magic date. And I'll save this in there. Okay, so it compiled without errors, so that's good. So I'm going to go ahead and run this program, and let's see if it takes time for the Goption pane to load. Okay, please enter a month in numeric form. Okay, so I'm going to enter what was given in the question over here. This date they're saying is magic, right? So 6/10/60 is magic. So enter a month. I'm going to put 6 for June. Okay, please enter a day in numeric form. The day I'm going to enter 10. Please enter a year in numeric form. I'm going to enter 60 based on these values again. Oops, where did it go? Where did it go? Oh, it came back. All right. Please enter a year in numeric form. So I'm going to enter. So based on these values, I'm going to enter 60. Hit OK. And it says the date is magic. Let's try different values. I'm going to use 6/10/59. 6 times 10 is not equal to 59. It's equal to 60. So that should say the date is not magic. Okay. So I'm going to hit OK. And it says the interactions window was terminated by equal to system.exit 0. The interactions window will now be restarted. So that's good. So that means it's working. That thread has been terminated. So I'll compile it again, although I don't have to, I think. because I didn't make any changes. So I'll run it one more time and I'll use 61059 and it should say that the date is not magic. So 6 for month, June, 10 for day, and I'm going to put 1959. That's not magic. The date is not magic. So it works, the program works. Let's try one more value. One more value or one more date set, that is magic. So let's try what we used before. 2, 5, 10. February 5th, 1910. Yeah. I don't know why Americans use month first, because where I came from in Ghana, it's day first. So it's going to be 10th June, but Americans use June 10th anyway. That's just by the way. Alright, so I'm going to run it one more time, and I'm going to use 2, 5, 10. February 5th, 1950. So 2, 5, 10. And that should be magic because 2 times 5 is equal to 10. And it says the date is magic. So it works. The program works. And that's good. And the interactions pane was terminated because we called system.exit. Okay. So yes, it works. If you have any questions, as always, please comment down below and I'll do my very best to explain to make sure you understand. I'll try my best to make sure you understand. And yeah, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time with the next program. Okay, take care of yourself and bye-bye.